Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the October 30th, 2025 Audit Committee meeting. And we want to start off by thanking my commissioners. Everyone's here today for full attendance, which is great. So if we can have a first item of roll call.
Committee member Zara Davidian.
Present.
Committee member Jack Mavian.
Present.
Committee member Denise Miller.
Present.
Committee member Christopher Satorian.
Present.
And Committee Chair Alex Parahone.
Present. Okay, next item, business agenda.
Item 2A, report of recording secretary, reposting of agenda. The agenda for the October 30th, 2025 Audit Committee meeting was posted on October 23rd, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Okay, perfect. Motion to approve the, well, next item, sorry.
Item 3, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes. The committee may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The audit committee chair may refer to the matter to staff for investigation and report.
Great, thank you. So currently have 3 oral communications requests. First person I would like to call up will be Andre Ardubigian.
Good afternoon, Chair Parahone and members of commissions. Thank you very much. My name is Andre Ordubegian. I'm a Glendale resident. And just have a couple of quick questions. It's not about any other subjects. I wanted to know when they come up to you with any project that requires a sums of money that it's been allocated. And I understand your capacity here is just as a advisory panel. But I'd like to know when the city's projects comes to you, are you guys able to address it and make suggestions that this project should not be going because it's over budget, or how does that work? I mean, what is the protocol for audit committee to determine that the project should be audited, or a project should not be audited, or what the protocol is? I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to answer that to me. I would appreciate some answers, because recently we get it with a bunch of studies that it's outrageous, sums of money being affiliated with it, or projects that it's not needed. Does it come to you guys? Do you guys need to approve it? Or how does that work? If you may please address that, I would appreciate it.
Good question. Thank you for addressing that. We primarily review the audits that have been conducted by the internal staff that we have here. And then we also obviously deal with the external auditors for their reporting that they do for the prior fiscal year. So we don't actually get involved with the day-to-day approval of items.
But if you do see items that they're doesn't up to par, they're not seem to be okay, is this something that you can alert and saying that this, for example, this project that requires, let's say, $1.250 million, it is just uncalled for and we need to have an audit. Can you ask for an audit on a specific item or not?
Chair Barone,
Go ahead.
perhaps we can maybe tag team that response.
Okay.
But in the interest of not having a back and forth up here, perhaps if you're done with your comments, you could take a seat.
Sure.
That would be great.
Thank you very much.
What I'd
Appreciate
like to
it.
do is either ask our city attorney or Natalie to talk about what the scope of the audit committee is, and then we can have a brief conversation or a brief response to how our audit's selected.
Well, this is oral comment, so it's not a lengthy discussion. As you know, the audit plan is selected at the beginning of each fiscal year. It's something that is brought to you through the process that is established. You review it, you determine that it's complete or provide your own comments. It then it's presented to the city council, which was done just recently, I think in September. It's then approved, and then that determines the year's activities, the full year activities for the audit section, and then those audits that are completed then are presented to the committee for review and discussion. But that's essentially the way that the plan works. It's not an audit of individual projects.
Thank you. All right, next person I have for oral comments is Edmund Hakopian.
I want to defer my time to Herbert Milano. Thank you.
Correct, thank you. All right, and then the next one I have is for Herbert Milano.
Members of the committee, my name is Herbert Milano. I'm here to call for an expansion of both the power and the scope of this committee. I think that for way too many years, this committee has been passive, have been a recipient of instructions from the staff without sufficient oversight and without sufficient initiative to really protect the finances of the city of Glendale and its operations. You represent the public, and it is, in my opinion, your prerogative to be able to expand the power of what we need to do to increase the oversight that this city needs. I have taken the liberty of giving to you a copy of this. The blue sheet shows you the contracts exceeding $1 million during the past 3 fiscal years. The white pages gives you the rationale as to why the items that are highlighted should be selected for auditing. But of course, if the city council and the staff already predetermined what you're going to do, what's your prerogative to be able to look at these numbers, because they jump right at you. You have, for example, a contract that originally was for $500,000 and it wound up at $4.8 million. You have significant contracts that appear to be expiring and very little time left. I didn't put the actual expiration date in here. But the highlight of those problems, when you look at this, you need to, this is incredible. This is $1 billion in contracts. And when you look at the work plan, very few of these items are actually in the work plan, 1 or 2 a year. So we need to revise and review the way this and how you're vested, the powers are vested in you to do a proper audit of the city of Glendale. The charter committee is taking place on the first Thursday of the month. I urge you to be present. I will be handing out additional suggestions on how these powers can be expanded. When the city had a budget of maybe $300 million, we still had 4 meetings a year. Now it's $1.2 billion a year, and we still have the same approach. For example, I don't know if you know that there were lawsuits against the city for whistleblower lawsuits of $1.5 million, close to $1.5 million by just a single person. There was another one recently for $800,000. Did that ever come to you? Did you ever review it? This year alone, I think we had one for $800,000. So what is a whistleblower? Somebody determining that there's something significantly wrong and they're, is that my 3 minutes?
No.
No, all right. So I urge you to consider that, to be present and to suggest that this meeting should be done at least monthly, that the budgeting for the auditing staff has to be increased, additional employees, to tackle some of these amazingly large contracts of one for $362 million. It just jumps at you and said, this has to be reviewed. Contracts that basically exceed the contingency fee continually. Contracts that are perfectly aligned 100% to the contingency fee. I would just look at all the change orders that come at the last minute during the last month to figure out, okay, we're not going to leave any money left standing. So significant problems with this, but there's more. The work plan should be developed along with you with data that you should receive. This is the kind of data that you should be receiving before the work plan is actually defined and given to you for rubber stamping, if I can call it that way. I'm sorry to use these harsh words, but that's my contention. We have an exponential increase in salaries that are unsustainable. We have a close to a 3% increase for the Los Angeles area in inflation. You got like a 13% increase in salaries, 28% increase in overtime. It's like overtime is not being audited. At the last time, I think it was in 2016. So we have the lawsuits, the exponential increase in salaries, the whistleblower issues that demand that they be audited, and then, of course, the huge list of $1 billion worth of contracts that are not being addressed. So that is my suggestion. My suggestion is that you be present at the Charter Review Committee and that you be present, not just at the Charter Review Committee but also at the time that the audit's being presented in the middle of December to the city council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next item, please.
4A, minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held on July 31st, 2025.
All right. Anyone wants to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, you approving the minutes?
That's next. I was going to call you after that. You want to do it?
The minutes to speak
Item
on the,
four.
item 4 on the minutes? We
On
would
the
do it
minutes,
before
yeah.
we take the vote.
You want to do it before? Okay.
Before the motion or the vote?
Before the
I
motion.
rescind my motion.
All right. So we have two speaker requests here. So I'll call up on Ijameen Hakopian.
No, my name is Ejmin Hakobian. If you look at the minutes that are submitted here for not just this committee in general, for other committees and city council meetings as well, they lack the detail, and sometimes they don't entail the comments that were made by the public present at this meeting. The reason it's important to have more detail, sometimes you go back and you want to see, I know videos are available, but that's not how you keep minutes. There's a reason why we still approve minutes. When you go back and you look at a policy, you want to understand why is it that they voted in a certain way, what was the intent for a policy, it's clear in the minutes. And also during public comments, you will see that the same problems have been talked about year over year, and that creates a trend of either issues not being addressed, or it empowers the both the committee and the public members to have an evidence that a certain problem has not been addressed. So I would appreciate if you can include that in your future minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. The other speaker we have is Herbert Milano.
Committee members, at the end of July, when I last came here, I brought up some very significant topics that merited your attention. And I have done that in other meetings in the past. But if you look at your minutes today, was any of the information that I brought? This is an audit committee. If a resident, a stakeholder comes before you with an issue, it should be part of the minutes because it's probably in your purview to look at that. Is it in the minutes? It's not. Just my name. I can show you, I got the September 19, 2011 minutes, and I'll read. In oral communications, Mr. Herbert Milano, member of the public, spoke on the following: raise awareness of the audit committee meetings to the general public, concerned with the direction of the city in relation to the budget, the pension, and the expenses in the last 10 years, the Glendale Water and Power, the $150 million bond issue is there, and it's on page 3 and it's on page 4 in detail what I spoke about. And it has been decades since I've been talking about the problems that we have had in the pension system, right? But now we are really feeling the impact of it. If you do not record issues of someone who's got a background in accounting, who bothers to look at the CAFR from end to end and bring you information that it not be part of the minutes, is because it's by design to make sure that you are limited in your power and so limited by the public on the information that they bring to you for your attention. And it's been going on for years. You should not accept the minutes until it is corrected with the information that I brought forth at the last meeting. It is the right thing to do.
Thank you. All right. Item 4A, approval of minutes.
Item 4A, minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held on July 31st, 2025.
Can we get a motion to,
Motion to approve.
any second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Committee member Zara Davidian,
Approve.
committee member Jack Mavian,
Yes.
committee member Denise Miller,
Yes.
committee member Christopher Satorian,
Yes.
and committee chair Alex Parahone.
Yes.
Chair Parhon, I just want to clarify, Committee Member Satorian, you weren't present. If you'd viewed the tape, then you may vote on the minutes, on the accuracy of the minutes. But if you hadn't, then you would abstain from the vote, just.
Okay. I did review it.
You did.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay, motion passes. Minutes pass. All right, next item 5A, and I have a speaker card as well. That's election of Audit Committee Chair.
The record 5A, election of Audit Committee Chair. Motion to select chair for the term of October 2025 to July 2026.
I have one card for this one. Adrian Hakopian.
Thank you. So I wanted to, all of you are obviously qualified and business professionals, and you have the confidence of council members to be here present. I don't know you personally, but I wanted to make a suggestion before you make the selection for the chair. I want to bring your attention to the Audit Committee Statement of Responsibilities. A special responsibility that a chair has, they can call a special meeting, and that's something that's very important to the community now, especially with the budget deficits that we have. At the previous meetings, we spoke about, I know there is a staff shortage. I understand that the community is asking for more frequent meetings, but that's something we can, since you have the confidence of council members, it's reasonable to go back and share that to the council. Hey, we are considering to have more audits. Would you please consider adding more staff? So the reason I wanted to point this out for the appointment of the chair, I believe you should select the chair that would commit to these steps, to have more frequent meetings, to communicate to the council members that this committee need more staff support and you want to conduct more audits. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Going back to item 5A, election Audit Committee Chair. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to nominate someone? Or nominate yourself?
You have a motion to nominate someone.
Go ahead. Who you gonna
Well, no, I don't have
Okay.
to continue that nomination.
So,
Just-
just from a process perspective, I think what we would do at this time is you could either name the person that you would want to have be the next audit committee chair, or you could nominate yourself. So it's really up to all of you. You'll recall that this item came up last time. We had an even number of people here, so we had to put it over for next time. So at this time, we would ask that you either nominate someone or yourself.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm not nominating myself. I take that motion back.
You have nominations for anyone? No? Okay.
I nominate Mr. Parajon.
I'll nominate myself.
We don't need seconds for motions, I'm sorry, for nominations, but at this time, we would ask if there are any other nominations. If there aren't, then we would close the nominations and we would take a vote.
I don't have a nomination, so let's go ahead.
So in the last meeting, I nominated myself, but seeing where this vote is going, if there's no point, there's no point. But I would be fine moving forward with Mr. Parajon. I would equally be happy to serve this commission at this time or a future time. I do have would you like me to ask my questions after the nomination, or?
This is the nomination time, so you'd want to do it now.
So I would like to ask Mr. Parajon what his thoughts are on the expansion of future meetings and perhaps us looking at the minutes. Am I able to do that?
I'm sure, but there is an item on the agenda. It's item 5C. 5C.
5C, yeah.
For the broader committee to discuss the frequency of the meetings. And the committee as a whole has the ability to change the schedule.
Yes, in the interest of full transparency, it's either Mr. Parahone who's nominated or myself. And we were asked where we stand on the expansion of meetings. So if we keep the scope to that, I'm more asking specifically what his thoughts are during this meeting time. Am I able to do that?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think the reason why we're hesitating to answer that question or answer your question is because Chair Parahone doesn't single-handedly have the authority to state whether or not there should be an expansion. It's really a committee decision to make.
Okay, let me see if I can be more, I'll try it one more time and be clear, and if I'm not, I'll pause. We don't need to fall down on this sword. In our last meeting, I was more vocal about the expansion of meetings. My impression is that Chair Parahone was not. So in the interest of a meeting and disclosing, I just would like to know where he stands. Am I able to ask that?
Sure, I mean, if that goes towards your vote, then certainly.
Okay, thanks. Do you mind answering that?
Don't mind at all. So
Thanks.
that item that's actually in the agenda for today, it's in relation to a conversation I had with staff. And if we're able to actually have a meeting with reporting, with audit reports, et cetera, and because of staffing issues right now, we don't have that capacity. So we could, if we do schedule and change ourselves as to monthly, we might actually have to cancel meetings just because we won't be able to have any audits to review. So you can see right now, today, I mean, we met a couple months ago, and we only have one major item to discuss, actually two, because of the new external auditors. But in regards to this matter, we have to just look and see the capacity of how much audit work internally they can do reporting for us to be able to meet consistently on a monthly basis. So right now, I don't see it happening unless we make some changes internally that will allow us to review or have items to discuss on a more consistent basis. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Just the question, and I know this item is on today's docket, but what about citizens? Herbert Milano and Edgeman, I believe, spoke about recorded minutes. What about the topic of that? Is that something that is difficult to do to?
I can answer that because the question did come up. The manner in which the minutes are taken is fairly consistent across the board with not just council, but also all committees. Earlier in time, when the video recordings were not readily available on YouTube, when they were not accessible to the public, there may have been greater detail that was captured in the minutes, but that has not been the case across the board. And by way of city policy, what you're seeing is fairly consistent across the board.
Oh, well, thank you. But so what you're telling me is that the video was then transcribed in a more detailed
Videos are not transcribed, but they are available on the city's YouTube channel across the board.
Meaning, Mr. Milano brought up some minutes from 2016. At that time, how was that process recorded in detail?
The videos were still recorded, but they were stored at GTV6, and you had to make a request to view it, and you could get the copy, but they were individually produced. I don't know when it was that we transitioned to having full YouTube access for all of the minutes, for all of the meetings, but that's essentially how that transitioned. And so now you have, because however it is that staff captures
The content.
an excerpt from the comments, there were still disputes as to whether or not it was an interpretation of what the speaker was saying versus, or the intent what the speaker was saying. And so there was debate as to the accuracy of the minutes. We believe, and council believes, that the video is the most accurate reflection of what occurred at a meeting, and that's why the minutes are action minutes. And that's, again, as I said, across the board, including city council, they're captured the same way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining that process.
And we
I'm
feel-
just curious if, with the advancement of technology and AI, if there is a efficient way of recording citizen concerns. Sometimes citizens come and spend hours, to get in front of the elected officials, and the context, although it is recorded in videos, I just don't see very many, of the population of the city of Glendale going in and watching, sometimes sessions that almost were like the 18 innings that the Dodgers had the other day. So definitely not trying to add to your guys' workload, but I do think that there are some valid points here.
It's not part of this agenda, so I
And that's
caution us.
specifically why I wanted to bring it
Caution
up.
us from getting too deep into it, but the city is looking at tools that would capture better minutes, the more accurate minutes, but unfortunately, we're not at a place where the technology fully reflects what was discussed, and so we're trying to study as to what it is that would be, proper technology tools that would do as you're saying. But I don't think that we're there yet as a city.
Got it.
Let me
Thank
just
you.
add, we veered a little bit deep into this conversation. I'm a little uncomfortable continuing it in this manner, but when we say that we're comfortable with the city council and we're there speaking on behalf of city council, this is a matter that has been brought up at city council. Mr. Milano specifically, I believe, brought it up this last Tuesday and maybe the week prior, so they're also up to speed. Any change to the manner in which our boards, committees, commissions take minutes would reflect the way that council would do it. So we would look for some council direction down the road as some of the things that Ms. Varpetian mentioned come to fruition.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just got another speaker request, if I can,
On this item?
on this item.
Okay.
Yes, if I can get Herbert Milano up again.
And just to remember, the item is the election of the chair.
That is correct. Thank you very much. I am aware. You have basically seen an example of the type of frustrations that the public has had in the past 25 years in trying to get our participation be recognized. There are many answers that I can give very quickly. We need a chair that will take a look at the Audit Committee Statement of Responsibilities. And back then, when the city was small, he said at least 4 times during the year. You don't need a special meeting. You need to be able to be willing to say, let's have 6, or let's have 9, or let's have it every month. It's already there. You already have the prerogative. You don't need their permission.
Correct.
You don't need the council's permission. It is completely within the chair to select the number of meetings. It's right there. This is part of the charter. And that's why we honor the charter for you to be able to be empowered enough to do so. The statements that the city attorney gave you can be challenged very quickly. It is very easy for someone who comes to you, and I want my words, 140 characters, let's say, to say, this is what I want to be recorded on the minutes, right? And I can assign each and every topic and give it to you. It's very simple. I have been doing transcripts of many of the meetings, and I presented it during the Pension Review Committee. I did a whole transcript of it and presented it and tried to make it part of the record. The technology is already there. That they don't want to do it is because it is easily searchable, where you can find one statement being made by a council member or any particular committee meeting one day, and then a contradiction later on. We can put together the same topic very quickly if everything was transcribed properly. These are just excuses. The fact that my words were not there, that my concerns, you have now a copy of the minutes in detail already when there was complete videotaping. We should select a chair that is willing to have monthly meetings, more frequent, and to be able to empower yourselves to look at the problems, financial problems that we have. These are significant and serious. You can no longer be subservient to the staff and what they try to interpret what the city council is doing. We need maybe a fully independent audit committee, maybe selected by the state auditor. I'm going to be proposing this to the state legislature, because if you cannot yourselves increase the amount of oversight, then why are you here? We need a chair that is going to take hold of this prerogative. Thank you very much.
All right, let's go with 5A, nominate, sorry, we finished nominating already. We got,
Now we're looking for a motion.
okay, so a motion?
Well, we have only one nomination, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Allen.
Roll call, please.
Can
Committee
you read the
member-
can you read the motion to me, to us?
We only have one nomination, and so we're voting on that nomination, yes or no.
Great.
Committee member Zara Davidian,
Yes.
committee member Jack Mavian,
Yes.
committee member Denise Miller,
Yes.
committee member Christopher Satorian,
Yes.
and committee chair Alex Parahone.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you again, fellow commissioners, for nominating me. Looking forward to serving this next year. Well, next few months now, 9 months. It remains with us that I'll be able to follow and do what we can to, meet us often as needed after we get financial, reports that we need to review. I personally, just so you guys know, I rather have shorter meetings, which means you meet more often, than long meetings that will last for 4 hours or 3 hours. So if there's a possibility, we can meet often, but it's going to be called a special meeting, which we will address accordingly as needed. But thank you for the staff as well for, allowing me to serve again and be here to do what I can to keep everything transparent and making sure we do what's right for the citizens of this great city. Thank you. Next item, please.
5B, selection of external auditor. Jack Liang, Director of Finance. Motion to approve and recommend to City Council selecting Eide Bailey LLP to be the city's external auditor to perform the annual audit of financial reports of the cities for the fiscal years ending 2025, 2026 through 2027, 2028, with the option to renew the contract for an additional 3 fiscal years.
Good afternoon, members of the Audit Committee. For the record, my name is Jack Liang. I'm the Director of Finance at the City of Glendale. As you are aware, that the city's charter requires the city to conduct an annual financial audit with the professional CPA firms outside of the city, and the California Government Code limits the number of years that we can work with the same audit partners, and that limit is 6 years. The city has been working with CLA as our external auditor for the last 6 years, with the fiscal year 2024-25 as the last year of audit of that 6-year series. And to be in compliance with the California Government Code, we conducted an RFP, a request for proposal, to identify the next auditor for the city. After a long and effective process, I'm pleased to share with you that we have completed the RFP process, and we think that we have very good results to recommend to you to consider. And at this moment, I would like to invite our Assistant Director of Finance, Shujun Lee, to provide you more details of the process as well as the result that's coming from the process. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Parhan and Audit Committee members. My name is Shujin Lee, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Finance Department. Here I'm today to ask for your approval to recommend Eide Bailey as the city's next external auditor for fiscal year 25-26 all the way to 2031-32. So if Audit Committee approved today, We will go to council on December 9 to ask the council to approve our recommendation. And with city council and audit committee's approval, the city and iBailey will do a 3-year contract to cover the financial audit for the city for fiscal year 25-26 to 27-28. And it is the city's sole option to extend the contract for 3 additional years. And now let me give you a little bit more background for the selection process. So like Mr. Liang said earlier, it is the city charter's requirement that the city had to engage a certified public accounting firm to audit the financial records of the city and render a report to city council on an annual basis. And then anticipating fiscal year 24-25 audit, it is the last year contract with our current auditor, CLA. We started the selection process earlier this year. So first, we form a selection committee, which consists of finance accounting staff and also the principal internal auditor, Ms. Minani. And the finance accounting staff consists of 2 accounting managers, 2 accounting supervisors, and also myself. And then the selection committee developed the request for proposal. And then in May 2025, we'll mail the RFP to 15 accounting firms. And how did we select the 15 accounting firms? Basically, we researched the auditors that are used by other municipalities. And then in June 2025, we received 5 proposals. And then each member of the selection committee reviewed their proposals on an individual basis. And then we combined the scores and then got the most highest ranked auditing firms for interviews. And at this phase, iBailey actually was ranked number 1. And then in September 2025, Chair Prahan and also with Mr. Liang, also with all the members in the selection committee, interviewed the 3 firms. And then the interview is about 1 hour long. At the beginning of the interview, each firm was given a chance to present about its capabilities, how to best to do the city's audit. And then after the presentations, various questions were asked to give more information. And iBailey, again, ranked number 1 at this interview phase. And after the interviews, each firm was given a chance to provide more information and also an alteration to their original cost proposals. And all 3 firms submitted their revised cost proposal, and iBailey's revised cost proposal was the lowest one. And then subsequently, reference check was done for iBailey, and we received good feedback from its existing clients. So at the end, iBailey is deemed to be the best qualified firm to be the city's next external auditor based on its proposal, its interview performance, and also its government auditing experience, and also their cost proposal. And next, I will invite Mr. David Showalter, which is the engagement partner from iBailey, to do a presentation about iBailey.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is David Showalter, for the record, audit partner with iBailey. And we have a presentation for you just to give you a little bit of background of our firm. So as far as the audit team goes, iBailey, we've assembled myself and Kanali Sukasan will be the audit partners on the engagement. Kanali will serve as more of a technical review partner. David Preciato, our senior manager, will lead the audit engagement, and Selena Castaneda will be a senior auditor assisting him as well. And there'll be also other staff assigned to the engagement as well. Everyone on the team has quite a few years of experience. All of us work full-time auditing governmental entities such as cities and counties and special districts and state government as well. So iBailey, we consider ourselves a leader in local government. In California alone, we have over 300 government entities that we audit, but across the firm, we have over 1,200 entities that we audit, outside of California included. We are a top 20 CPA firm, but the fact that we're a top 20 firm, I think our clients can attest that they still feel the a more of a small firm feel from our team and a regional firm focus. So while we do have the bandwidth of a large firm, I think our clients do appreciate the hands-on approach from the partners all the way down to the staff. We have, within our government practice in the firm, it is one of our largest practice areas in the firm, in addition to healthcare. So as you can imagine, we do spend a lot of time training our resources, training our staff. Our National Assurance Office alone has several partners who are engaged just working on government, focusing on government quality, especially when all the new accounting standards are coming out as frequently as they are. Our firm does a great job of helping us to help our clients through the early adoption, or at least getting through the implementation of those new accounting pronouncements that come out. Of course, the things that are going on today, we know our national office is always giving us updates on what is the government shutdown impact, what is the new budget bill impact. We have a compliance supplement that's out there that we're still waiting on to do single audits. So we feel that our national office does a great job informing us of what's going on so that we can inform our clients proactively in that. Just so ideally at a glance, just to kind of give you an idea of what we do, in addition to audit and assurance, we have, we provide clients assistance with information technology implementation, ERP implementation. Outsourced managed services is where, we can come in and help our clients with their day-to-day bookkeeping. Of course, with an audit client and, providing consulting services, there's independence issues that we have to manage with that. But these are just things that we do offer. We're not just a singular focus audit firm, but we do provide a lot of other services in addition to tax and other types of services. Our industry depth on the right side, again, pretty much spanning all the different industries that you can imagine. But government is, like I said, government and healthcare are one of our larger areas that we focus in on. And we understand city governments, just some other cities that we do serve or have served in the past. In addition to Glendale, Whittier has a utility. City Banning has an electric utility, and they participate in the same Southern California power authority that City of Glendale does. When you get up north, we've worked with City of Sacramento and City of South Lake Tahoe and some others. So overall, our cities that we've served are over 50 in California, and of course across the firm, over 1,200 cities that we've helped. What do we bring to the City of Glendale? I think that's important for you guys to understand that my dedication is in the government area. That's all I focus on. So that's all year round. I'm working on government clients, working on auditing. We're doing single audits. When we finish our audits at the end of the year, we're already planning for the next year's audits for most of our clients. Our staff are also getting training throughout the year on everything and anything government accounting and auditing. You're also going to see partner and senior manager involvement. In addition to me coming and presenting to you at the Audit Committee, I'm on site. I'm working with the finance director and their team on the audit. We're having status meetings throughout the audit engagement. So I really take pride in having a lot of visibility with my clients and working with my clients in that. So me working with my senior manager, we're the faces that you'll see the most when we come to the council meetings, when we come to the audit committee meetings, and then when we're working with your team, the finance team, we will be involved with the every aspect of the audit as well. Proactive communication and collaboration. Any success in the audit is predicated on communication, and so that starts at the very beginning of the audit. When we engage at the beginning of the audit, we sit down and we go through a planning phase of the audit. We get an understanding of what's changed with the city. What are the risks that have impacted the city during the year? How is that going to impact our audit and when we plan the audit? In addition, we meet with you at the beginning of the audit as well to go over the plan, timing, and scope of the audit. This is a great opportunity when you interface with the external auditor to ask questions of the external auditor, and if there's anything that you have concerns about, that's what the two-way communication in our audit standards entails, is that when the external auditor interfaces with the audit committee, it brings an opportunity to have some communication on audit scope. What do we look at? Again, our focus is on the financial statements of the city. That's what we're hired to audit. And of course, everything that goes into those financial statements, there's things that we get an understanding of, internal controls and things of that nature. So, so yeah, that planning stage is important, and then that communication is active all the way through the final phase of the audit and until we communicate with you at the final phase, once we issue the report. You know, our approach is to build on the long-term relationship. I understand the contract is a 3-year contract with additional years. So anytime you're hiring an external auditor, there's always that initial startup phase of the audit, us coming in and getting understanding of the city, getting understanding of internal controls, and understanding processes and procedures, sort of building that understanding of how the city transacts or processes transactions and how the financial reporting process comes together. So, you know, we build on that every year from a risk assessment profile. You know, 1 year we'll have the risk and material misstatement will be related to potentially new audit standards that have to be implemented. But in addition, you look at the balance sheet, and there are significant transactions on the balance sheet. There's significant balances on the balance sheet as well. So we focus in on those. But then, as we go through the planning stage, we meet with various individuals within the city, at the city manager's office, or a city attorney, and then as part of our communication, other things could come up. And so our audit is not rigid. Our audit is ever-changing. But ultimately, the goal of the audit is to render an opinion on the financial statements, that they're fairly presented in all material respects. And that's what our goal, of course, would be. The next slide, just giving you some of our power and utility experience. City of Roseville, which is up north, has a fairly active utility. Banning has a fairly active utility. California State Water Project, which I actually am the audit partner on that engagement. This is the water project, the state water project that conveys water all the way from Lake Oroville all the way down to Southern California. It's a very large project. So idea is that we understand the idea of rate setting, the idea of the functions of the utility fund to capture those costs and ideally be able to charge for your expenses on an equal basis. And understand the dynamics of having a significant number of utility customers and auditing through the accounts receivable related to that. So, so definitely we bring that experience into the audit. So I probably talked about a little bit about our tailored audit approach, but again, it starts with the planning phase, sitting down with management right around that March, April timeframe to go through the audit scope and what's changed during the year and really go through the timeline of the audit. And then the city, having a very structured audit schedule, likes to issue everything right before Thanksgiving. So makes it good for us so that we know that we're going to be able to enjoy our Thanksgiving because we have the audit issued before then. But it does ensure that, you know, we have to make sure that everything falls into place from an audit scheduling perspective. We create that audit strategy, get that understanding of the city. We conduct our internal interviews. We start selecting transactions from an internal control testing perspective. And then we start performing the audit. These are the year-end balances. Now, the city, for all my clients, it's a process to close the books, get everything ready for the auditor, and that does take some time to work through that process. So when the city is ready, then we start performing our year-end audit procedures of the account balances, and then we conclude on the audit. And then lastly, you know, I think that whenever there's a change in auditors, you know, I think most of our clients that have changed auditors and have selected us, I think they have felt that the transition has been very smooth. I know that can be a daunting experience because you're so used to the existing auditor, and now a new auditor comes on board. But we've been the new auditor many times, and we've made it really easy for our clients from a transition perspective. Again, I think it's really the expectation is communicated early on. with the technology that we have today, we're able to provide our clients with a portal where they can upload all of the requested items. It's very easy to use, and it's driven where this is the request, and they just drop the request on a web portal. So it makes that makes it easy from the perspective that our clients aren't having to create paper documents. They can just upload things very easily. Makes it easy for us to know where things are. And the engagement team that the city will have is very experienced in government auditing. So the other thing would be, okay, well, you don't understand cities. Well, we do understand cities, and we do understand how cities operate in California. We understand the political dynamic. We understand the compliance dynamic as well. So there's a lot of things that the city doesn't have to train us on. We understand those things. And with other clients that we work with, I always like to bring best practices, or maybe this is what another city's doing. Have you thought about that as well? So it does provide some opportunity to bring in some of that experience into the city as well. Our formal check-ins are balancing on-site and remote field work. We just kind of will work with the city as far as how that will look. I can imagine it'll be a combination of the two. And then tailoring the audit approach. Again, when the audit standards changed about 15 years ago, they changed from a process of every audit has to look the same to, wait, every client's different. Every client has its own risk. So we want to make sure that we're auditing toward those risks so that we're addressing those in the audit so that we can render an opinion on the fair presentation of those financial statements. So, overall, we're very thankful that we have this opportunity to work with the city. I really think that it's going to be a good partnership. Of course, we are independent, and when I mean partnership, I mean we always look at the audit as a team effort because it takes a team to get through the audit and get things completed. But first and foremost, we do appreciate the opportunity, and we do look forward to meeting with you again soon to go through the audit plan, and then fast forward to the results of the 2026 audit. So thank you for having me, and if you have any questions, I'm here for you.
Mr. Showalter, welcome back.
Thank you.
So I know back then, a couple of years back, we worked on, with us as well, 8 o'clock morning meetings back in the days. Now it's afternoon. But I had the honor and pleasure of meeting your staff this time around, which was great to see their expertise. And just want to tell my colleagues here that their firm was just blew it out of the park. I mean, they were just phenomenal. And compared to the other ones, I mean, they're, you could see like the difference in regards to just how his team was just very organized and just had the knowledge of what their roles was. So that's one of the reasons why we went with you guys. And it was a great experience for me just being there, interviewing the various firms there, just to see this whole process, which was my first time doing that. I mean, I've been with this audit committee for a while, and really appreciate your team being there. And so anyone has any question on this matter? One question I do have, though, is hearing that we have a little bit of a staffing issue, that doesn't impact your team at all performing audits, just because you're still working with each department's individual directors, et cetera, right?
Yeah, it should not have an impact on the audit. Again, the communication is very important at the beginning of the audit. That's the time where management gets to explain to us if there's going to be any shortfalls in staffing, or there's going to be any delays in them providing what we need for the completion of the audit. So we manage that on a kind of a piecemeal basis. Say, okay, that item we can wait, a few more days if that's what it takes. But if it's a structural issue where there's just a lack of staffing that can prepare for the audit, then that's where, for my other clients, when we get into that situation, then we say, okay, we might just need to postpone the audit, so to give you a little bit more time to get ready for us. So, yeah, and that's where it becomes flexible, So the audit doesn't have to always start on the exact same day every year. It's all going to be predicated on management closing the books, giving us a trial balance, and providing all the what we call PBC, or provided by client items, on the list. And so that's where it's important to have the ongoing communication. Even though we're we may have started the audit, let's say in March or April, done our preliminary work, and then we're not really involved with the client for a few more months. We like to have those check-ins periodically just to make sure that we're all on track, everything is moving forward as planned. And if there was an issue with staffing in a department or something that might impact the audit, then at least there's communication, and then we can make a decision on how to proceed with that. So,
Great.
but
Thank you.
our goal is to meet the timelines of the city and do the best we can to achieve that expectation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Nice to meet. Nice to meet you. I have a few questions, 3 to be exact. First off, just to make sure I understand the operational effectiveness of this, do you meet with our treasurer? Do you meet with our accountant? Can you just explain that? And well, now I'm going to have 4 questions. If you can secondly explain how often. I know you just said the department chairs, but if you could give some idea, is it monthly, weekly? What's the check-in?
Sure. So the normal process of an audit, financial statement audit, is we will start our audit sometime in the spring. And the idea of that is to start our planning of the audit, to start reaching out to various departments that are key stakeholders in the processes that feed into the financial statement. So you can imagine accounts payable, payroll, the treasury, the cash collections. Those activities they're processing transactions that are then recorded in the accounting system and then ultimately will feed into the financial statement. So the department heads that we'll meet with are those primarily overseeing the more significant transaction cycles, like treasury, of course, finance department. We do meet with city manager, more from the perspective of understanding the city, understanding some, the city manager is the one we want to meet with from the perspective of risk and direction and strategy, anything that would be useful from an audit. And then we will meet with various individuals within the city. This is pretty random how we select that, but our audit standards do require that we inquire about fraud risks and any misappropriation, things like that. So we have conversations with individuals about that aspect of the audit because our opinion is saying that the financial statements are free of material misstatement, which would include anything that could cause material misstatement, which could be a journal entry that was not processed correctly, error, fraud, or misappropriation of assets. So we do that primarily through inquiry with individuals within the city. And then in our audit procedures, we also will plan to have unpredictable audit procedures that we plan at the beginning of the audit to basically identify potential fraud in transactions. So that's just what our audit standards require. With respect to your question about how often do we meet with the department heads, we only meet with them at the beginning of the audit or during the course of the audit in order to obtain that understanding of the processes or the transaction cycles that they oversee. So our role isn't to check in on them on a frequent basis. It's really just to meet the audit objective. We have audit programs that we use. It's to go through and complete those audit programs and then continuing to obtain the audit evidence that we need in order to render an opinion. But we do work directly with the finance team closely. They're the ones preparing the financial statements, so we do work with them quite often. And if things do come up in the audit, things that maybe that were subsequent events or things that came up that we might need to look into in the audit, those usually are coming up in our conversations with them so that we can decide if we need to address that as it relates to our audit. So the audit is as of June 30th, 2026, and your financial statements are dated on that date. So our scope of work was within that fiscal year. That's what the transactions we're looking at. So anything after June 30th of every year, we would call that a subsequent event. type of a transaction. So we evaluate that. We do read your council minutes. We do look at the videos because it's important for us to see, I agree, the context is always good to understand how decisions were made, but primarily from the perspective of, is there any significant transactions that might need to be disclosed in your financial statements, and the things that we look for, debt and other agreements that might have an impact on financial statements. So once we start the audit, it's an ongoing process, but it's primarily driven through our audit standards and what are the types of things that we need to look at. But we do meet with the various department heads that are involved in those transaction cycles and have oversight over material balances on the balance sheet and income statement. So is that? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I do, if I may, just have two follow-ups. I was reviewing a little bit about your company, and I see that you were founded in 1917. Is that right?
Yeah.
So who founded it, Ide or Bailey? Are those families?
Well, that's when they first came together.
That's when they
There was
first,
an
wow.
Ide and a Bailey.
That's amazing.
And they were both CPA firms in Fargo, North Dakota, and they came together and made one firm.
I know I smile, and it might seem like it's cheeky, but I find that significant, that sort of length of time with a city when we're looking for a decision. So the third thing I was wondering, and this might be a two-part question where I need staff's input on this as it relates to where I'm going, is I'm trying to understand the process of your work as it relates to staff. So for example, let's say we have a development issue, we have a lot of development in Glendale. Have you noticed? We do. And so, or developers. And so, let's say we have a developer that's been with us for 3 years, and we want something looked at. Are you involved in that at all, or is that an operational thing that's just on the city side?
So if I can I'll interpret your question.
Thanks.
Questions come up with there's a special scope audit that needs to be done, or agreed upon procedures or something to that effect. So the fact that you have an internal audit function, a lot of times the cities that have internal audit functions, the internal audit division will be tasked with maybe looking into those types of transactions if they're brought up to the audit committee or however, whatever your process is on that. So sometimes our clients might ask us to do a special audit of a contract or something, and maybe do it in an agreed upon procedures format. And so, I mean, it's possible, we, as the external auditors, we're engaged to audit your financial statements, and so we're not engaged to go look for other opportunities that might, if there's, in the course of the audit, when we get an understanding of internal controls over, let's say, the accounts payable process or the payroll process or the treasury function and debt management, things like, we have to understand internal controls and even test those controls to make sure that they're in place. And so our audit standards say that if we come across a situation where maybe the control isn't working or isn't designed properly, or there was an exception, then we have to bring that to management. We bring that to the attention of management, and then we have to evaluate that to determine if it requires reporting in our reports. So,
And if I may, so now I'd just like to direct it to staff, and then I'll be able to completely have my question answered. So based on the functions that were just described, and recognizing what our role is, and recognizing that operations belongs with council and the city manager, recognizing all that, that they would only get involved in a scenario like that if that came from internal staff, right? Or does that?
So maybe I can add a little bit of color to
you're on mic.
in addition to what was already said. While Ike Bailey has a role and responsibility in auditing our financials, there are times where we will task our internal audit team with doing a special audit if a certain issue arose, or we may go out and contract an entirely different firm outside of Ike Bailey. In fact, I believe we did that last about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where we were with our previous audit firm, And we, in fact, I believe, contracted with Ide Bailey to come in and do a special audit of a specific issue that we wanted to, it was a process issue, that we want to make sure was completely objective, completely neutral, not tied to anybody within the organization looking at it or our existing auditors. So we have a menu of options to choose from. We're not tied to one process or another. It really is situation dependent.
Those are all my questions. Thank you both.
Just really, really quickly, just a question. You mentioned, so I would imagine onboarding and discovery, gaining context into your clients, that's what takes the majority of the time, correct? For phase one, getting to know your client.
Phase one, the audit standards call it getting an understanding of the city, getting an understanding of the entity, yeah.
Okay.
And so our audit standards have specific objectives in that and what we look for and what we ask, the types of questions that we ask, and what are the types of things that we're looking for. Remember, it's all within the context of the financial statements and what goes into the financial statements from the perspective of disclosure and risk of material misstatement of the financial statements. Because again, our opinion is giving assurance that the financial statements are fairly presented.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I guess I didn't phrase my question or comment right. Just really wanted to gauge how long would it take to get the lay of the land, for lack of better expression, with a city our size?
Yeah. So if we were to give you the engagement timeline, which we're not there yet, but when we do present to you the timeline of the audit, that phase of the audit represents about 10%, 15% of the audit, just to start that understanding, and then it transitions into about 30 to 40% of the audit up front is gaining that understanding. We send our staff to the various departments to interview, document internal controls, and then we have to decide what are the controls we're going to test. So it's a process.
Got it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I
And
think-
again, that's the first year. We've got to it's the investment that we make in that first year. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. That's a wonderful, unique client experience. And you mentioned some technology for info sharing and ease of doing so.
Yeah.
What program are you guys currently using, or software, and how is it encrypted?
So a couple of systems that we use, but for the file sharing, it's through Surlink. It's the name of the vendor. And so it's completely firewalled within our environment. So clients have to have access granted to them, and then clients can then sub-grant different attributes within the system to other individuals within the city. So it's very controlled. This is an entity that has a SOC report audit done. And we wouldn't be using it if it wasn't protected and safe. So we had another system that we used several years ago, and we just felt that this one was a little bit more user-friendly for our clients. And the nice thing is that it's not just it's not like a Dropbox where you just throw a bunch of stuff in there and hopefully you can find it. But it's detailed out. Yeah, it's detailed out with like a PBC list would be, here's the request one, here's the name of the request, and here's a description of what that request is, and the client just has to drop it right in there. And then we get a green light when it's there. So anytime we can just open up that website and see where things are with the requests, and helps us to keep things in order, helps the client to keep things in order. It prevents things from going through email, which we don't want to send things through email.
Yeah, scattered,
anymore.
having things scattered and trying to
preventing
chase
the
things
double requesting, triple requesting things. So it's
Absolutely.
been very user-friendly, very efficient for us in the audit. We also use a program called Teammate Analytics. And so what we use that for, that's a CCH product. And the Teammate Analytics, what it does is helps us do some fraud detection on the journal entries. So we'll use that to.
Does it check pattern?
Yeah, it does all the Benford law and everything. So it has all the different types of analytical tools built into it. So that's a standard procedure that we do. We run all the journal entries through Teammate, and then in some cases we select particular journal entries from that analysis to test to make sure that there's backup behind and there's business logic
take
behind.
out that teammate if they weren't being a teammate.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Does each one of your clients have a unique website or portal?
Yeah, so Surlink, every client is set up within Surlink. So the way our firm does that is that, we have to have the client set up, and then within Surlink, every client has its own
Awesome.
unique portal. So someone logs in, they'll never see anybody else. They're just going to see their portal.
No crossing wires of our data to, okay, and then just one last thing. 1917 inception, that is quite a feat. Just curious, has the company ownership changed hands in that time? And if so, what's the current ownership
Yeah,
structure?
so it's a partnership. So we're a group of partners. So it started with 2 partners, and
I would
it's expanded to
imagine.
more and more partners. Yeah. So as the firm grew in Fargo, then they continued to expand, and through either acquisition of other smaller firms, just continue to grow. So Eide Bailly came into California about 6 years ago through acquisition of several firms. And so they just continue to grow the business based on whatever the strategy of us diversifying primarily our client base. So
Got it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
No further questions? All right, we can now move on to a motion to approve Ed Bailey LLP as the recommended CPA external firm for audits for the next 3 years. That's the motion.
Motion to approve?
A second?
Second.
Committee member Zara Davidian,
Approved.
committee member Jack Mavian,
Aye.
committee member Denise Miller,
Yes.
committee member Christopher Satorian,
Yes.
committee chair Alex Parahone.
Yes. All right, next item on the agenda, motion passes. So next one will be 5C.
Item 5C, consideration of request to agendize discussion on the frequency of audit committee meetings. Motion to approve the request to agendize a discussion regarding the frequency of audit committee meetings at the next regular meeting.
Great. I have 2 speakers card here, so I'd like to call up Edmund Hakopian.
Continuing on the discussion earlier, I think you should be happy there's excitement, and the committee wants to participate, and they care about the city financials, and the audit committee is the go-to place to go and have this type of discussions. When I had questions on the budget, actually, Council Member Ellen Asatrian asked me to come to the audit committee. She thought this would be the place to speak on those items. But that wasn't the case based on the agendized items that you have. I've looked at the previous, the agenda items for the previous years as well. They seem to be almost the same, okay? So I'm advocating for more frequent meetings, but obviously if there is nothing to discuss or there's nothing to audit, there's no need to meet. I'm not saying let's start from next month meeting every month going forward. There is no meaning for that. But if you come up with the criteria, Mr. Milano provided you a list of contracts. We should also be able to, so these are by contracts. We should also be able to audit, request audits for projects. We would have multiple vendors, and then we can go from there. It doesn't, I understand one of the staff members said we don't have time. They mentioned it last time, but if you're planning this for the next 6 months, that should be fair. So please consider coming up with, and I'll speak on the next business item. We can come up with the KPIs criteria for selecting or opening up to the public for them to reach out and ask you to consider auditing a certain contract or a certain project, and then you would give direction to the staff to go forward and do an internal audit. I just want to point out one more thing. I believe the city attorney was deflective when you were asked if you have the ability or the power to conduct audits. I want to point out to the number 13 under your powers and duties. It clearly says the audit committee shall have the power to conduct or authorize the investigation in any matters within its scope of responsibilities. So you clearly have that ability to do it. And I'll speak more to that on the last item. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person will be Herbert Milano.
Members of the Audit Committee, my name is Herbert Molano. I urge you to start having more frequent meetings post-haste. Every month that goes by without any of these particular vendor contracts being reviewed is tens of millions of dollars per month, easily. That you cannot find topics, plenty of topics. I have been looking at the financials of the city of Glendale for the past 25 years. I spent thousands of hours of my own time out of interest, particularly because I began to compare that with my personal experience in my company, installing and implementing financial systems for companies larger than the city of Glendale. I want to tell you the following things that you could do, and it is an absolute must, that you could put into your agenda as one of your items for frequent meetings. Measure A. Measure A gives the city council the prerogative to bypass the RFP for themselves by ordinance. That's huge. And you got a CPA organization like this one that does it for all these other companies. I wish I had the opportunity to ask them whether they ever seen anything like this in any of those cities. They don't. Because it is a crucial step to make sure that there is no temptation for corruption or malfeasance. Measure A is an incredibly dangerous ordinance that was passed surreptitiously and with misinformation to the public. The implication of that needs your attention. There are more. I mentioned a few others today. But if you ever need, give me a call. I got plenty of topics that you can basically look up and give yourself the prerogative to choose the items that you need to look at. Measure A should be number one in your agenda. Thank you very much.
Chair Parlon, can I
Thank
just
you.
add one, can I
Yes,
just
sir.
respond to something with respect to what Mr. Milano just said? Unless I'm mistaken, and I don't think I am in this particular case, Measure A was adopted by voters a couple of election cycles ago. The principles or the ballot measure itself called for certain changes to be authorized to the city's procurement process. Those changes have not gone into effect yet. So we haven't amended the code. So I'm not really sure if it's a miscommunication on Mr. Milano's part or my part. You and I can have a conversation afterwards. But Measure A does not play a role in how the city has been conducting its procurements to date. Correct, and that's something that what Mr. Milano said. It's a future. Moving forward, any changes to the city's procurement process, and those changes will be proposed at an upcoming city council meeting. The city attorney's office is working on it. That will be open to the public to come and chime in on their thoughts at that point in time, whether council should approve or not.
Thank you. So in this section, 5A, do we have any staff comments in regard to supporting, either revisiting or looking into possibly changing our meetings to more frequent, or do you have any reason to think that we should still continue our 3-month, once a quarter meeting? Anyone?
I can start it if you'd like. It's really a conversation, I think, for the committee to have. I think that staff's position on it would be to share that it does come down to a resource issue. It does come down to a number of people we have in our audit operation, what the city's resources are capable of providing in terms of more people or more funding for potentially outsourcing some of these audits. But at the end of the day, I would say that regardless of the resource issue, I don't know that a code amendment authorized by council is even necessary, considering the fact that if there is something specific that there's a request for us to bring back, this committee can ask for a special meeting. If that special meeting is every other month, so be it. We'll have one regular meeting every 3 months, and we'll have a special meeting, sometime in between there. My concern is, I think Chair Parhon mentioned it earlier, my concern, the concern I'll share, not my concern, but the concern I'll share is that there's a mandate to have bi-monthly meetings, and we're not going to be able to actually produce any audits to have those meetings, which means it's going to get canceled. So any direction or any feedback that this committee has, I think would result in us having to go to the city council and seek some direction from them, whether or not there is an appetite for amending the code, increasing the frequency of meetings, increasing the resource needs to essentially meet those obligations.
And one comment I want to make, so if we start the second quarter of the fiscal year, where we meet, which the next meeting is scheduled for January 29th, I believe. Yes. And do we plan now for that special meeting, or would it have to take place in that meeting to say, hey, we want to have a special meeting in February to review, obviously whatever we have available at that time. In case we don't have anything, we just have to cancel that meeting. Any suggestion on that?
Staff wouldn't have any objection on that. I mean, if there's a desire to call a special meeting from today with the option to then cancel if there's a lack of progress, if you will, you can. A special meeting could also be called in a much shorter time frame, even 24 hours, depending on what the situation is. Maybe Lucy can chime in a little bit on that.
The special meetings would get called either by the chair or 3 members of the committee. You probably want to take into account what would be the discussion, what would you discuss at that meeting. We would then have to make sure that we have the availability of GTV6 staff, the availability of the staff that's here, the staff that comes to support, any other additional staff that would have to respond to that item, and then just your availability, right? Would you be available to attend those meetings in that time? We don't need a 3-month projection in order to do that. We could do it in a much shorter time frame. I think the reason that these meetings get called at these junctures is that given past practice, because the committee used to have more frequent meetings, given past practice, it was determined that there were certain things that occurred that triggered reporting at that point to the committee. And so that's why the number of meetings went back to being quarterly instead of what they used to be. And I forget what they were, because that was 10+ years ago. And so based on need, based on the availability of the work, it dictated how frequent, when it would be that staff would be presenting certain things. For example, we have to get the audit plan approved. We make sure to have that there's a meeting ahead of that so that you have the ability to opine on that, weigh in on that before it gets presented to council. Some of the things that we've heard from the public today with regard to accelerating or having more frequent meetings, those are not items that would be part of your purview to begin with. For example, studying the any budgetary overflows of a contract. We're not even sure what we would present to you. It's not something that you would do because it wouldn't be an audit. If the direction is that there is a particularly high expenditure on a contract that would have to start with an audit from this audit team, and that could either be done at the beginning of the year, or sometimes these things come up and audit is pulled off of one assignment and pulled into something else. If that were to occur, then as part of your normal reporting process, you would receive the results of that audit anyway, and you would do it at your next scheduled meeting. If there was some urgency for you to act, then in that situation, there would be a request that you meet ahead of your next scheduled meeting. But again, we've no objection to following your direction. However many times you'd like to meet, we're happy to do that. We just don't think that it's an efficient use of city resources or your time, because you would be coming here to not have a report.
Now, is there a way, though, we can lock in, because I know one of the challenges that we've had is locking in the room and time, and, you know, is there a way you could lock in something for, let's just say February time period, February, March, I guess, actually, because then the next meeting after that will be in April. We can lock in those dates as a special meeting, tentative, to see what we have to review. Because obviously, you know, one of my things for me in these committee meetings is that sometimes they do take a long time. Like being here for 4 hours is draining, looking at stuff, listening. So it's great to, you know, maybe break them out if needed, assuming we have enough, you know, information to review. I get the agenda ahead of time, and when I see it, you know, it's like, oh, it's going to be a short meeting because there's only a few items left. Or I see it, we're like, oh man, it's going to be a real long meeting. That's when I would love to, where like, hey, let's meet the following month then. But again, I mean, that's also, like you just said, the team resources, you know, the location here as well, if it's available, and you guys' time. I mean, your time commitment as well involved here, because, you know, we're all volunteers and we're just trying to do what we can to help out. But, you know, committing another date, and, you know, for the month to do it, it requires time as well. We don't know what date will be available in February right now, right?
February's a little far out,
Yeah.
but as luck would have it, we were actually going to likely ask you to put a special meeting on the agenda before your next regular meeting to approve the city's financial reports and the audit results. That's something that needs to happen in the next 30 to 45 days. So sometime in late November, early December is when we would be asking if this committee would be available for a special meeting.
Oh, so we can actually get one earlier in then.
Right,
because
so
of that.
if we
Okay.
do that in sometime late November, early December, and I can have our finance director maybe expand on that if there's any questions.
And
on
actually, I
what
would love
is.
that, just because that
Sure.
way it'll save us more time as well in regards to the January meeting. And depending on what time frame works with our schedule, obviously we can set up a meeting, I think maybe early December.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. So as I have been here for only a few months, I have been learning of the city's processes. And what I have learned in the past is that we usually finish our financial report and the audit process around toward the end of November, usually by Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving. Obviously, that would have passed your October meeting for this committee already. And then usually we take that report to the city council in December for acceptance of the audit result and the financial report. And then we come back to your January meeting for retrospective approval from your committee. I would suggest, if you're interested for a special meeting, I would suggest one for earlier in December to actually step in front of the council meeting for your committee to approve the audit result, and then before it goes to the council for the final approval by the council.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Can the committee join in on this discussion? Okay,
go ahead.
great. So a couple quick things that I just want to, we're on the agenda item to talk about expanding the meeting, right? Okay. So just a couple things to clarify, since I requested for it to be on a future agenda item. I don't remember a mandate. I remember identifying the number 6, but I don't remember being stuck on 6. I think really what this discussion, what the public coming forward in this discussion has really brought forward between all of us is actually very positive, meaning that we have our schedule for next year. We know, and I'm asking this question, we know that should we want to discuss more, we can have a special, we can request, and it's not just the chair that can request it, any of us can request it, right? Okay, so we have a path forward there, so that's awesome. And then we also are aware, just to the, I really appreciate you do I call you by your first name in this, Lucy Varpetian, or how, okay. I'm used to committee where, yeah. Okay. I really appreciated legal's input in giving, or not just input, but guidance in giving that specific workflow about what our role is. At the same time, while we aren't the deciders and it's not our role to be, as you decided, we would see something after the fact, it also means that we can ask for something to be added, right? We still have that authority to ask that something be added to a future agenda, right?
A future agenda?
Or to a future,
for an audit?
to be audited,
So
excuse me.
that comes usually in the spring when we are developing the audit plan. There is a list of audits. There's a whole process that the internal audit goes through in identifying the various subject matters that need to be audited for the coming year. They then project the amount of time, a level of priority, and then they bring it and provide an opportunity for the committee collectively to consider it, to review it, provide input, provide new ideas, different ideas, and then approve it in the form of a recommendation to the city council. It then goes to the city council. Council then approves that, and then that becomes the audit plan for the coming year. Now, in the event of an emergency, something comes up that the plan remains what it is, but it is not so rigid that they cannot get pulled off to review something else. That typically doesn't come from the committee at that point. That typically comes from an operational need that pushes the audit committee, the audit internal audit, to do that audit. As Mr. Tektalian explained earlier, it may be that from a staffing perspective, they may not be able to handle it internally. Or for some other reason, it may not be a function that gets done internally, and the city then identifies outside auditors to complete the audit. Regardless of how that divergence from that original approved plan comes up, once it's done, unless it was at the direction of the city attorney, which would make it privileged, it would then come back to the committee in the form of a reporting out.
I do understand the process, and I appreciate where you're going, and in the interest of time, does this committee have an exception process to use the special meeting?
Yeah, your process, because it's approved by the city council, would still need to be approved by city council.
Thank you.
If you're going to propose something different than what you had done at the beginning of the planning.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Please.
So from what I'm hearing, we could select to have a special meeting. Either committee members or the chairman himself. But are we even imbued with the powers to speak on these hot topic or hot button items? I think not, right? We wouldn't be able to add these topics
Not
for
at this-
discussion.
Not
Correct.
at this time, unless you bring it up at a time that you'd like to have it be audited. Then you can incorporate it into the audit plan, which would then get approved by city council.
So the audit committee has the power to audit these items here, for instance, and bring these up
Yes.
as items to discuss?
The answer is a qualified yes. I think it's important when we're having this conversation to have a good understanding of the process by which the set of annual audits is established. And I'm going to ask Natalie. I'm going to ask Natalie to maybe do a summary version of that. But the summary of her summary is essentially going to be that the internal audit team annually will develop a risk matrix and utilize that tool to send out to departments to identify all the different contracts, all the different processes, anything and everything that we deal with. departments answer a certain set of questions, and then we'll have a risk factor associated with each of those functions, contracts, and such. Based on that grouping, that massive grouping of opportunities, audit opportunities, it gets whittled down into the ones that create the most risk. And then we present that to the audit committee. We present that to the city manager, the audit committee, and ultimately it gets approved by the city council. Once the council approves it, it's locked in for that year. The audit committee typically sees that sometime in July, and the city council approves it sometime in August. Did I miss anything that might add a little bit more context?
No, and thank you.
Okay.
And that's the way, and that's the cycle that I remember
Yeah.
as it being. So I was just asking that for a point of clarification for some of the new committee members. So in saying that, adding more meetings would be meaningless unless there was a reactive item, that would come up.
Or
that would require our attention.
Sure. And alternatively, there could be items that come up in the middle of the year and like in the middle of a quarter, like the one that Mr. Liang mentioned. Instead of waiting for that to come up at the next audit committee meeting, which might be two to 3 months away, we certainly can use those opportunities to change the way that we do business. There's no reason why we wouldn't wait until the next quarter to bring that forward,
I would
but
want
we
it,
can.
and I would follow your recommendation to do it in December before it goes to council.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
That was really helpful. One last follow-up to the question that was just asked. So which meeting do you come before? Do we get to, before council sees it and identifies it, what is it, the second quarter meeting where we know the report you're going to send to them? Do we have any input on that?
You do. What we can do, what we typically do, and what we can do even in more depth, perhaps, because there is a heightened level of interest at this point, is we can start from the beginning and indicate, what the process was, what the entire list of audit options were, why the final set was selected, and then give this committee an opportunity to ask questions and maybe even make recommendations of modifying any of those, just based on various factors that might be pertinent at the time. That'll all happen before it goes to the city council for final recommendation and approval.
We don't need a motion if we're not going any further with it, right? So it's just back to you, Chair.
What's pretty much,
Anybody else
yeah,
wants to
pretty much right now, the only thing that I want to put on the table is having that special meeting for December, and hopefully.
Well, it's my birthday month.
Hopefully we all are available sometime, before it goes to council. So if maybe we can get possible dates that are available, and then from there we can email you all so that we can select that special meeting date. Will that work for everyone?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah? All right, sounds good. Let's move on to the next item here.
Item 6, reports information. 6A, internal audit activity report as of September 30th, 2025. Natalie Manami Valdivia, Principal Internal Auditor.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chair Padajon and fellow Audit Committee members. Natalie Manami Valdivia, Principal Internal Auditor. I have prepared the Internal Audit Quarterly Report to walk you through each of the 7 sections that we, sorry, let me bring that up. We go through each quarter, and I will start off with the projects that were completed. For the September 30th quarter ending, Internal Audit completed the Public Benefits Program audit. This audit was performed by Daniel Mitchell, our internal auditor, and he has prepared a presentation to walk you through the audit and the related results.
Thank you, Natalie.
Good afternoon, Chair Potahone, fellow committee members. My name is Daniel Mitchell, and I am an auditor in the Internal Audit Division. And today I would like to go over our Public Benefits Program audit, which I have prepared a presentation for. Glendale Water and Power charges customers a surcharge for electricity sold, which is referred to as the public benefits charge. The charge is currently set at 2.85% of electricity sold. This is a state mandated charge, which was initiated to ensure that public interest energy programs are funded. These programs help achieve long-term statewide goals that benefit the public and environment and are administered by the GWP Public Benefits section. During our testing period, GWP offered 10 public benefits programs, which are broken into 3 categories: energy assistance, energy and water efficiency and conservation, and renewable energy. The energy assistance programs offered were Glendale Care, Guardian, and Helping Hand. The energy and water efficiency and conservation programs offered were home energy and water saving rebates, home energy and water saving upgrades, Tree Power Shade Trees, Business Energy Solutions Program, and the In-School Conservation Education Program. And the renewable energy programs offered were Net Energy Metering Program and the Non-Net Energy Metering Program. The programs are advertised online and through mailers, which are available to customers, and customers may apply through mail, email, over the phone, or in person. The public benefits staff will process the applications once received, and benefits are typically in the form of a product received or a bill credit, which is applied directly to the customer's GWP bill. The objective of this audit was to determine whether adequate controls were in place to ensure the public benefits programs are effectively and appropriately managed. The scope of our audit included the funded programs and expenditures during the period July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. To achieve our goals, the audit team interviewed GWP staff who oversee the public benefits programs, reviewed program benefits documentation, fund expenditures, and budget allocations, and conducted detailed test work on public benefit programs. Through our audit, we found 5 areas related to improvement opportunities for customer applications, internal reports, application processing, invoice processing, and program guidelines. Our first observation includes 3 areas of improvement recommended to improve controls surrounding how customer applications are retained and recertified. During our testing, it was noted that a population of applications were not retained in line with city policy. As a response to this finding, management is developing a plan that will be implemented by GWP to recertify all participants whose applications were not retained. Next, during the testing of the Glendale Care program, it was noted that there was no process in place to recertify the applications. Prior to our audit, GWP management had already been developing a procedure to begin recertifying the applications and has begun implementing a recertification process. Next, our final observation over this area was that there were no procedures in place to ensure applications for former participants were disposed of properly. As a result of this finding, management has created a procedure to ensure timely disposal of these applications. Our second observation included 4 opportunities recommended to improve internal reports used within GWP to manage the PBC programs. Our first observation is created so that there was no, our first observation was noted that there was no tracking system for one of the programs, and the tracking logs for other programs contained inconsistencies. In response to this, management has created a tracking log for the program that it was missing, and it will incorporate a review for all tracking logs moving forward. We next noted that internal reports with program participant detail included a customer who is not currently receiving a benefit. In response to this, the parameters used to run these reports were updated by management. Through further testing of the internal reports, it was noted that a customer's benefit was not scheduled to automatically end when the customer moved or ended their service. In response to this, it is recommended that all programs with reoccurring benefits have this option selected so that the program does end when they move. Through testing of supporting documents provided by the vendors, it was noted that customers' signed documents were either not provided or did not include the account holder's name. As a result of this recommendation, it was recommended that departments require vendors provide customer-signed applications, which did include the account holder's name. Our third observation includes 3 opportunities recommended to improve application processing controls. Through testing of supporting documents, it was noted that sensitive information was not redacted. As a result of this finding, it is recommended that departments immediately redact sensitive, non-essential information from all applications received. We next noted that the application details did not consistently agree with the data in the GWP system or were missing information required to determine eligibility. Through testing of these applications further, it was noted that customers were improperly approved for benefits they did not qualify for or were receiving the incorrect benefit. Based on this finding, it was recommended that a second-party review of all approved applications was implemented. Next, it was noted that there was limited documentation of reviews that did occur. As a result of this finding, management will update the existing procedures to include a formal documentation of all reviews. Our fourth observation includes 2 opportunities recommended to improve invoicing processing controls. Through testing of vendor-provided invoices, errors were noted which included billing for unapproved items, missing supporting documents, duplicate charges, the use of non-prevailing wages, charges that did not agree to contracted rates, and improper taxation. In response to this finding, it was recommended that management update the invoice review process for services provided to include a review of the items noted. Through testing vendor invoices further, it was noted that one of them was not properly accrued for. As a result of this finding, it was recommended that GWP Finance implement procedures to ensure all SCAPA payments submissions are accompanied by the original vendor invoice detailing services provided. Our final observation includes 3 improvement opportunity recommendations to improve the current program guidelines. It was first noted that the websites for inactive programs remained online. As a result of this finding, management has retired those inactive program websites and will implement a procedure to retire outdated sites for future programs. It was next noted that new low-income rates were not incorporated as soon as they came out. Because of this, it was recommended that the departments incorporate the new low-income rates into all relevant applications and online resources immediately upon release. Finally, through testing of the Business Energy Solutions Program, it was noted that projects that were not completed within 90 days did not receive a formal project extension request. Because of this finding, it was recommended that all projects not completed within 90 days receive that formal extension request. This concludes my presentation of the Public Benefits Program audit. I would like to take this time to thank the staff from Glendale Water and Power for the support and assistance provided throughout this audit. City staff and I are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the report. And any committee members have any questions for this?
Just one question. So do our vendors have the ability to, is there a portal?
So for the vendor-provided programs, there is an advertisement for each of those within the city website, and we direct them directly to the vendor. So they don't have, or excuse me, one of them doesn't have a portal, but one of them does have a unique online portal, which is one of those websites that was still active. That program ended after the end of our period, and so that portal has been taken down.
And just neither here nor there, but it would be interesting to see how many errors took place between a vendor with the portal versus that with not. And if that goes to a suggestion, when back to council or whoever it goes to, city manager, regarding RFPs, that might become one of the criteria.
Yeah, so I know that,
That would be an efficiency up front that would end in an efficiency at the end, here is what I'm saying, by the time it gets to us.
yeah, and so I know that the department does work very closely with these vendors in developing the original contract, setting expectations of what is communicated before the service is provided, which did show, I think it was reflected through our testing. We found very few, if any, errors within these vendor-provided programs. So we did have a level of assurance and comfort over that fact.
Okay. Anyone else? One question to kind of trying to think about here is from your standpoint, how is this going to be taken care of or addressed for the recertification ones? Recertify prior to, I believe it was April 2020?
So the recertification, since that was a priority one, will be addressed by the end of December. So management is currently developing a plan to make sure that all of those applications do have a recertification. The details of that plan are not fully communicated yet, but we will have that in full detail from them by end of December.
And how do you have like a tracking from your system that allows you to remember to notify them on this? Like, hey, your deadline is coming to do this, or do they just do it themselves and report it? Because sometimes we don't usually get the updates on that. We just we only see it where it's going to be happening on so-and-so date, but we never get follow-up and saying, by the way, regards to priority action one, and like in this one, that was completed, it's all good, we don't get a little follow-up on that.
Right.
Is that possible?
To your point, yes, the only ones that aren't completed would come to Audit Committee. But we do work very closely with the department and have a running list of all recommendations and the status of those recommendations. So we do reach out throughout the quarter to make sure we check in on progress and then work closely to make sure that what is being done by the department will actually satisfy our recommendation.
In other words, no news is good news. So when we do bring this particular, there was a list of recommendations here. Anything that's still outstanding at the next meeting or at the next quarter update, those will show up. But you're right. Some of the ones that are corrected will drop off, and we typically don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure we understand this isn't the first time, this isn't the last time we're going to talk about this particular audit. We will continue talking about it for 2 to 3 years if, in fact, some of these remain outstanding, at which point the department would have to come and explain why it's still outstanding.
Correct, yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Do you have anything else on the 5C?
So I'm going to go ahead and continue on for Section 2, the projects in progress. So as we mentioned, the Public Benefits Program audit, it was completed on September 30th, 2025, which is the last day of our quarter. So as of the end of the quarter, we did not have any other audits in progress. However, since that time, we have started our audit of the Fire Prevention Bureau Revenue Recovery and are working towards completing that project. Moving on, oops, I apologize, let me. All right. Moving on to Section 3, the continuous auditing. So we continue to leverage our automation to increase our coverage efficiency. And for this past period, we completed 2 key continuous audits. As you can see, it was the user access controls for Active Directory that was used to determine whether Active Directory user access is limited to authorized employees and whether access is revoked timely in the event that an employee separates their employment as of a point in time. So we performed this audit, and the test covered comparing the Active Directory users to our employee listing as of August 7th, 2025. And these test results were shared with the Information Technology Department and rectified. Moving on to the second continuous audit that was related to the user access of an application, and this application was specific to the audit that Daniel just presented. It was for the Public Benefits Program audit, and it's a program that they use. It's called the Electric and Gas Industry Association system that they use to process rebates for Glendale, the Glendale Care Program, the Helping Hand, and the Home Energy and Water Savings Rebates programs. So we also took a look at that and compared the user access to our employee listing, and we communicated those results to GWP, and when we did, I'd like to give them some credit. And once they provided us the report that was requested at the beginning of the audit, prior to us giving or communicating our audit results, they had already remedied the user access listing and updated it appropriately. Moving on to section 4 is the outstanding audit items. So I just want to point out, since it was brought up, this is where we talk about the quarterly follow-up. So on a quarterly basis, we do go and follow up on any outstanding items that remain with each of the departments. So for this past quarter, we did work with the departments, and there were a total of 6 projects and a total of 26 audit items, which we followed up on. And that does also include the Public Benefits Program audit and the 6 recommendations that were included in that particular audit. So for this past quarter, there was the 26 audit items, and there were 3 that were implemented by the City Clerk's Office for the Public Records Request audit. And then we have 23 that remained outstanding as of the end of the quarter. Moving on to section number 5, it's the outstanding priority 1 audit items. So for these are the there were 3 outstanding priority 1 audit items, and these represent critical control weaknesses, and management has been fully engaged in addressing each of these. So there were 3 as of the end of the quarter. The first one is related to, well, the first 2 actually are related to the take-home vehicle audit that was presented last quarter. And just to give you an update on the recommendation for the annual submission of the take-home vehicle request list for city manager approval, Management Services Department has finalized the required templates, and they'll be distributing them to the departments in mid-November for completion. So we anticipate that this item will be closed as of December 31st, 2025. The second item, or second recommendation, is related to the timely deposit of vehicle sales proceeds, as well as the prompt notification of status changes in fleet services and then the physical inventory of the fleet. So as of September 30th, the deposit process has been expedited, and the city charter deposit timeframe will be under review. The finance and fleet have also developed a plan to conduct the physical inventory, and we anticipate that this will be also completed by the end of December 31st, 2025. The last priority 1 audit item is related to the presentation that Daniel just provided, and that's related to the public benefits audit. So the recommendation is for the department to establish the recertification for the Glendale Care Program, have some records tracking and disposition and procedures for that program. So we will follow up again on that item at the end of next quarter. So moving on to item number 6, or section number 6, the outstanding audit items meeting audit committee discussion criteria. As you all are aware, based on resolution number 2, there are 3 events that may occur that would require departments to come to audit committee to discuss any outstanding items. So that's either when a determination is made that the audit status is going to be changed to not implemented, or when an audit recommendation has been outstanding for 2 years from the report issuance date, or again, when the audit report recommendation has been outstanding for 3 years from the report issuance date. So for the quarter ended September 30th, we had 3 items that entered into this category. So for these 3 items, they actually meet the criteria of being outstanding for 3 years since the report issuance date. So at this point, we have changed the status to not implemented, and internal audit will no longer follow up on these particular items. Each of these items is related to the public records request. The outstanding, let me make sure, yep. The 3 outstanding audit recommendations were related to the enhancement of the current public records request tracking system with dedicated fields for request type, status, and other key data points. And the goal was to improve the visibility and the manageability of the public records request within the existing tracking software. The department has since determined that it would not be cost beneficial to make the recommended enhancements in the current system, and is instead exploring a new replacement public records request system, a software platform. So today we have joining us City Clerk Dr. Susie Abajian, and also, Records Administrative Analyst Kimberly Solario, and they are here to answer any questions you might have.
As a new, is there a new software that has been identified yet, or what's the status on that?
Good afternoon, Chair Parajon and committee members. We are working currently with IT to look into different platforms that we could use, new platforms for public records requests. So nothing has been decided yet or identified, but we're in the process. We do have the funding. It has been approved by council, so we are moving forward with that. And the only reason that some of the items were not implemented because they were priority 3 items, and also it would take considerable staff time to make adjustments to the current system. So we just thought that it would be best served with a new system.
Do you have a timeline?
Within the next year.
At least within the next year, okay.
Hopefully within the next 6 months, but we will see.
And then what are the, so what are you doing now to kind of help yourself based on this audit until the new system comes in?
Well, we are, as stated in the report, we are currently tracking some of the items that was recommended by audit through the comment system that we have. And so we are tracking that data. It is there, and this would have just made it easier or more visible, but the data is there and we are tracking it currently within the current system.
Great, thank you.
So using legacy systems while integrated.
Yes.
to the new system. Got it.
Any other
No other
questions?
questions? Nope. Thank you for your time.
Very much.
Thank you.
All right, I have a request to speak card as well for this item.
Should I finish? I have one more section
Yeah,
to go
okay,
through,
go ahead.
if that's okay. Section 7 is advisory services, and as you know, throughout the year, internal audit participates in various committees or teams within the city. So internal audit continued to participate on the 3 teams: the Investment Policy Advisory Committee, the PCI team, and the Energy Risk Management Committee. So that concludes my presentation for the internal audit quarterly activity report. So I would be happy to take any questions you might have.
Great, thank you for the detailed report. Very helpful. Anyone has any questions? No questions? All right, no questions. Let's move on to the speaker that we have here. It's all right, I can't read it anymore. Herbert Milano, there you go. My eyes are getting bad.
I just got glasses. You want to use?
Oh,
them?
I need to start using those.
Thank you. Members of the committee, I want to address the public benefit program because on a couple of occasions, I made a Public Records Act request asking the following. What percentage or what number of residents in the poorest area of Glendale, that's like south of the 134, receive a 48-hour notice of impending shutoff? So the city council creates this program that is applied to basically assist. One's for low-income families and the other one for emergency. And you wonder, what is the impact now of the increases in the rates that are so significant? It's going to be like 50% by next year, just from a 4-year period. What is going to be the impact of those changes with regard to programs like this? So you do an audit and you get a granular report on how effective the transactions are. But what was the intent, and qualitatively, how is the program addressing that? If during a one-year period, 90% of residents, let's say in the Mariposa district, get a 48-hour notice, there is a definitive need that needs to be addressed with programs like this. And so the audit committee may say, yeah, transactionally, they all complied, and they were provided the equipment or the rebates and so forth. But I think that the audit committee should look at the intent of the city council, the program that it is aimed, and how effective it is. And so I think that issues like that can be done on the special meetings and discussed without having to wait a report on the audit that is granular in place. Yeah, the transactions were done correctly, the right postings were done, the right journals were updated. And in the meantime, you have a significant need that is not being met because that was the intent of the city council, right? To create that. So the public benefit program, if I were to request a special audit, let's say, would be, what was the income generated, right, or the fees generated by residents of area code 91205, and how much benefits went back in there? Because it would be really absurd for residents living in area code 91205 to be subsidizing the benefits to the people up north, right, in the Emerald. If you follow me, I think that qualitative issues of fairness and the intent of the city council are the purview of this committee. You don't need to wait for an audit report for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item.
Item 7, Audit Committee staff comments.
Anyone has any comments? No? Staff? None? All right. Let's move on to next item.
Item 8, new business.
I have a speaker request for 2 individuals. We can get them up right now. First one will be, actually, it's the same person. Adrian Plakopian. He won 6 minutes, that's why, huh?
Just in case. Thank you so much for your time and volunteering to be here. I worked as an institutional business program manager at JPL, and I was part of projects that, with the life cycle cost of $2 billion, I was part of the business side, audit side. I participated in all the activities, budgeting. Every time I was audited or my project was audited, it made me a better professional. It forced me to learn internal checks. It made me transfer all that information to my colleagues, and we did a better job at the end of the day. What I saw today, and I wish she didn't leave because I was hoping she could answer for her actions, I was deeply disappointed with her remarks today. I think she was successful shutting down conversation on having future meetings. She gave the same talking points, disregarding what I said earlier. Her job is, but at the end of the day, she failed the city and the community. The reason is, her job is to facilitate and help you, guide you as to how to execute your plan. You are an oversight committee, and your powers are clearly in here. You don't need to put your audit request on a plan. And I was very reasonable. I didn't say start having meetings next week, but what she could have told you is, what about, let's have a discussion, let's schedule a meeting, let's have a discussion on what type of contracts should we look into. Let's have staff bring variance reports. Those are already ready. They don't need to work on them. And then look at the variance report, and if the variance report makes sense to you, just move on to the next contract. But if there is something significant, you can say, you know what, let's put this on a list, and if we need more staff, let's go to the city council, let's get their approval. But that's not what she said today. She kept saying, we don't have staff, you can't do it, move it to the next year. That's wrong. And it's not just her. Unfortunately, our city attorney's office, that's a feature of the office now. Last time, Mr. Herbert Milano was the only speaker here. He asked to speak a minute extra, and that's the discretion of the chair, and he was the only speaker. Usually people allow that. She spoke for 5 to 10 minutes as to why Mr. Milano can't speak for an extra minute. This type of behavior, for me, it's a red flag. I've done audits. I've been an executive for a nonprofit. We had an attorney. Every time we wanted to do something, he would say, that's not possible, or the same type of responses. We got a new attorney, and then that problem was fixed. So for your new business, you may want to discuss having a new staff member that's more in line with the goals of this committee. And then from there, we can have discussion on, let's create an agenda item, bring various reports on contracts, let's look at them. Let's look at the risk profile that the staff is using to audit contracts. Maybe you have a better way of balancing it out. Maybe you want to increase or decrease the threshold. Maybe you want to look at all the contracts that are not overrunning, but they are eating into all of the 10% reserves. Those are all red flags. Those are all the normal things that I'm sure you looked at in your business and in your profession. I'm trying to be very reasonable, but I was deeply disappointed with her remarks. I hope you can work with the city attorney's office and get someone who can help you, direct you, and give you all the options you need to execute your vision with the help of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item.
Item 9, adjournment.
All right, thank you, everyone. We're adjourned. No.
Mr. Milano, maybe.